but the piece here is the assumption that I'm making is that appearances equal spending.
Right.
Okay. So I am being shallow in the fact that I'm assuming that because you're in the driver's seat, you have bought the vehicle. May or may not be true.
Sure.
Another thing that I might be assuming is that because you're driving a lesser vehicle, you don't have money to buy a vehicle.
Yeah.
Both are lies. All right, welcome to another episode of Money Therapy. My name is Brandon Chasteen.
And I'm Bill McGill.
And we're going to take you on a little journey here.
We're back, baby.
So, Bill,
Yep.
what is worse than judging a book by its cover?
Judging a cover by its book.
Not correct. Not correct at all.
Was I close?
No. Judging a book by its cover and then making a financial decision based on what your guess of that book might be.
Oh, I agree with that.
Right?
100%.
That sounds silly,
Yeah.
but we do it all the time. I had a client in here not too long ago, and he is wildly frustrated.
Yeah.
Because he sees his neighbors around him doing all the things he aspires to do.
Yeah.
And they just seem so carefree and capable of taking the vacations, having the work-life balance, having the nice new cars, kids are in college, like everything that he wants, and they're just doing it with ease.
Yeah.
It's just easy for them to accomplish. And look, if you're listening, you're not from Franklin, Tennessee.
Yeah.
This area, it's expensive.
Highly fluent individuals.
It is. It's an affluent county, one of the top 10 in the country. Things are expensive here.
Very.
And you can have a good income and still struggle.
Yeah.
And look, we're talking about, but that's kind of true all over this country right now. Everything's a little expensive, and we're all experiencing most people are experiencing some kind of pinch.
Yeah.
This client perceives that they all got it easy.
Yeah.
And they have everything that they want.
Yeah.
They drive the nice car, and he's frustrated.
They work out and don't
because
even sweat.
My client works his butt off. He makes good money.
Yeah.
But he still feels strapped all the time. And here's the wild thing.
Yeah.
Right? And this is what I talked to him about. We were talking about it for a while. I let him vent for a minute.
Sure.
But then I was like, hey, client, what's your savings rate? And he pulled up his Elements app, and we explored his savings rate.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's your neighbor's savings rate? Well, how do I know that? Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, how much did they purchase their car for? Well, they drive a, Range Rover, whatever, $110,000 car. How much did they purchase it for? Do they have a car payment?
Yeah.
Or do they actually even have like a car payment, or are they just straight up like in some lease thing where they got to turn the car back in 2 years?
And if they drive the car too much, they get destroyed with penalties.
And here's the thing. How often, speaking to the client, how often do you go in front of your neighbors and just waller in pity about how tight things are financially?
Yeah.
No, we don't do that.
Not typically.
Not typically. There's a statistic out there that suggests that men to other men, I think it's actually just people to other people, but specifically I remember men, so we're going to go with that, would willfully admit to cheating on their spouse.
I was going to say an affair.
An affair.
Probably is my guess.
Before they would admit to financial hardship. To a friend.
That's wild.
They would admit to financial hardships before they would admit to infidelity in their marriage.
I guess it depends who the affair is with.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Right? Yeah. So what would make you, my client, want to go over to your neighbor's house, knock on his door, and be like, man, I just need to express to you how financially tough things are right now and what I'm going through, and man, it's just hard. They aren't going to do that. What are they going to do? They're going to walk out in the front yard and wave to you and smile real big as they get into that, Range Rover XL, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's sad because what my client is struggling with and what he's carrying on his shoulders is this burden because he's making assumptions. We know his savings rate.
Right.
We know his debt ratio.
Yeah.
We know that he's on track to do great things and he's building a wildly successful business and taking care of his kids, all these things. We know that. I don't know anything about this neighbor.
Yeah, but you can't see any of that either.
So
There's nothing to show there with your savings rate and stuff.
Right.
Your neighbor with the Range Rover is never going to know.
So there's an economist. His name's James Dusenberry, and he formed this thing called the relative income hypothesis,
Okay.
which simply suggests that because the higher spending of others kind of kindles these aspirations that are difficult for potentially me to meet. So I perceive you spending money. That's it. It's in my head. I think you're spending money, and I see that because you're spending money, you may not even be trying, but because of my own kind of insufficiencies, maybe I lack joy, and that just looks like something that would give me joy.
Yeah.
So I perceive you as joyful.
Yeah.
So now I think that thing is giving you joy.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go out and overspend
Yeah.
in search of joy or happiness or peace or stability or whatever. And here's the thing is that what am I actually doing? I'm putting myself into a financial hardship, a tight spot
Yeah.
that's only going to exacerbate any kind of like insecurities or fears or doubts or anxieties that I have.
Yeah.
I'm making matters worse
Yeah.
because what am I doing? I'm telling myself a lie,
Yeah.
believing it and holding on to it instead of examining it. And it's just, I see this all the time.
Dude, there's so much more behind the curtain. Literally, I'm thinking about boats right now. And why I'm thinking about boats right now is I've talked to 2 different people in the last 2 weeks about this, right? And both people are using boats. The one guy bought a boat, and the other guy belongs to like one of these boat clubs.
Yeah.
Where you just pay like $200 a month and you can take the boat pretty much whenever you want.
Right.
They have the inventory, they take care of the boats, the maintenance, the fees and everything. The other guy has the boat in his driveway. And he's got a great sense of humor, but he was telling me that he's like, you know what I didn't know about boats, Bill? I said, what? He goes, every time you take out a boat, something else breaks on it.
Yeah.
He goes, see, I didn't know that. And he said it so funny, and it was really, really a funny thing. But you could also start thinking like, I wonder financially what's going on there. Mm-hmm. I'm a finance guy anyway, but also my dad had boats growing up, and I know how much maintenance and cost they are.
Right.
So yeah, that big beautiful boat in the driveway looks great. You're like, oh man, all the things I could do with that boat. But out of those 2 people, my buddy who's paying the $200 a month to take a boat whenever he wants without
No
any
maintenance
and fee. I mean, that dude, because you're on the lake,
Right.
Everybody's on the lake, and you see that guy on a boat go by, he's happy as a clam, and you don't know that he bought it or didn't buy it. He's renting it.
I was watching a TV show. I don't really remember which one it was, but the couple neighbors next door, they had a boat, beautiful boat.
Yeah.
The neighbor was jealous, but one day the neighbor comes home and sees them like grilling in the back of the boat in the driveway.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't we take this baby to the lake? He's like, oh, we can't afford it. And so they literally just have it in their driving way and they're grilling in the back of the boat in like their bathing suits.
That's so awesome.
But so here's
That's the best story I've heard in a long time. That's
something
good.
we typed out in the Sunday series email, but I want to read through this because this hits me in the gut.
We can't afford it. That got me, dude. That was good.
This is really important. I need you guys to hear this part of this episode. So we're gonna revisit the guy who has the Range Rover.
Yeah.
We're gonna pretend I'm jealous of the guy with the shiny Range Rover.
This actually says #nice Ranger Rover, bro.
I don't know about you, but I tend to tell myself the following story about him. Number 1, because he is in the vehicle, he bought the vehicle.
Yeah.
So in this case, the summary. Now, what was your stat there? You looked up in pre-show.
So here's a crazy stat for all you see the BMW, the Range Rover next door. Okay. And you think, oh, man, that must be nice. Right. We all heard that must be nice. So the stat that I looked up is according to CNBC or CBS, whatever. 85% of vehicles in the year of 2022 were financed. Over 85%. Here's something crazy about that. 15% of all vehicles on the road at the end of year 2022, or I'm sorry, 15% of the vehicles sold, new vehicles sold in 2022, means that the people who bought them have car payments over $1,000 a month.
Wow.
15%, $1,000 a month. That's nuts. So yeah.
So
your neighbor might not be able to sleep at night.
So, like, lie number one I tell myself is because he's in the vehicle, he bought the vehicle. Maybe that's not true.
Yeah.
But the piece here is the assumption that I'm making is that appearances equal spending.
Right.
Okay? So, I am being shallow in the fact that I'm assuming that because you're in the driver's seat, you have bought the vehicle. May or may not be true.
Sure.
Another thing that I might be assuming is that because you're driving a lesser vehicle, you don't have money to buy a vehicle.
Yeah.
Both are lies. A few years ago, I had the privilege of working with a wonderful couple that had big goals and an incredible work ethic. They made sacrifices and achieved tremendous success and even got to enjoy an early retirement. But tragically, the wife passed away after just 6 months of that retirement life. This experience shook me to the core and led me to reevaluate how I approach financial planning with my clients. I developed an ideology based on 5 pillars of fitness and happiness, and in no particular order, they're pillars of finance, faith, physical and emotional well-being, and mental health. While I'm not a doctor, priest, or psychologist, I believe in the importance of addressing all of these pillars holistically alongside financial fitness. A few months ago, I decided to prioritize my own physical health. I focused on everything from eating well to sleeping better. However, I really struggled to find the right motivation to become a regular at the gym. That's when I reached out to an old friend and fitness professional, Sean Rodman. Sean has been a warfighter in the U.S. Army for 20 years. While serving, he acquired all kinds of fitness certificates and was designated to lead fitness programs for our nation's bravest warriors. Not just the fittest ones heading off to war, but also those injured and needing rehabilitation. When he retired, he started an online fitness company, Parabellum Fitness. He builds workout programs tailored to you, your goals, and even considers your old injuries. He also switches things up from week to week or month to month, so nothing ever gets old. In just a few months, I've experienced better sleep, improved mobility, increased energy, weight loss, and freedom from my old injuries. While I want my clients to achieve incredible financial success, I believe it's all for nothing if you cannot enjoy it. Go check out ParabellumFitnessLLC.com. That's ParabellumFitnessLLC.com. Follow them on Instagram or TikTok, really any social media platform. Go follow Parabellum Fitness and reach out to Sean. Set up your first month of programming, mention Money Therapy, and get 25% off. Let's not lose sight of all 5 pillars. Together, let's focus on health and happiness and put energy into creating the best possible life we can. After all, we only get one. So,
Sure.
Appearances equal spending.
Yep.
Number 2, because he bought the vehicle, he's rich. So the assumption here is that spending equals net worth.
Right.
And we all know people that spend too much money, and we all know wealthy people that don't spend any money.
Yeah.
I know one of my favorite clients that I had the privilege to work with, an incredible story. He came from nothing.
Sure.
He's built him and his wife a beautiful life. They're retired now. And he has a significant cash pile.
Yeah.
and he doesn't. He does a lot of work with his hands. He builds things on his own. He is very frugal. You would never know how successful this man is by looking at him. But so again, just to summarize where we're at now at the end of number 2, appearances equal spending, and spending equals net worth.
Yeah.
Number 3, because he's rich, he's happy. And so what we're saying there is net worth equals happiness. So in this one assumption that guy's happy because he owns that car,
Yeah.
I'm suggesting that I am going to believe the truth that appearances equals spending, spending equals net worth,
Yep.
and net worth equals happiness.
Yeah.
All of that is a house of cards. It's a complete lie. And we are so good at telling ourselves this narrative and believing it. We just accept it as truth.
Yeah.
When if we stop for a second, it's so easy to debunk that.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart. It honestly does when I see people come in here and they have this like keeping up with the Jones mentality, and they're hurting because their perception. And all I can say is, look, I don't know the financial vital signs of your neighbor.
Yeah.
I don't know what their goals are.
Yeah.
I don't know what their life expectancy looks like.
Yeah.
You know, the money that I'm spending today might look very, very, very different if I knew that I had a year left to live.
Yeah.
Right? I might be on a lot more vacations over the next year.
Yeah.
But you can't assume that because I'm spending all of my money that I have money. Probably don't.
Yeah.
And you also shouldn't assume that because I don't spend money, I don't have any.
Sure.
Because that can be untrue too.
Actually, probably the opposite.
Generally is. So the expression that we talked about was big hat and no cattle.
Yeah.
So it's the appearance of success without the success. And I think, one, again, going back to that abundance mindset that I mention all the time, like I want everyone to have everything and be wildly successful.
Yeah.
It does not cost me anything to champion your success. I'm not limited to my potential because you have incredible potential. So just because you have something doesn't mean I have less. There's not a scarcity of resource here.
Right.
So in all of this, I hope the guy driving a shiny Range Rover is wildly successful. I hope he's rich beyond belief and he has all the happiness. I hope that's true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, one, I'm not going to get envious and jealous and make financial decisions. Going back to that, the economist, that the relative income hypothesis, I'm not going to put myself in a financial hardship.
Yeah.
Put myself into all this anxiety and stress because I think my neighbor is super wealthy.
Yeah.
That will derail any kind of financial prosperity that we could ever achieve.
Yeah.
If that's the high that I'm chasing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the one quote that jumps out at me is the classic, comparison is the thief of joy. And that's very, very true.
Who said that?
I don't remember.
I just read that recently.
I did.
You did not.
It's like the Michael Scott Wayne Gretzky quote. Yeah, you miss on 100% of the shots you don't take.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. But yeah, that's a huge thing. So many people, walk outside and look at that new vehicle that your neighbor just bought, and now you can say, hey, there's an 8.5 out of 10 chance that they didn't actually buy the whole thing. They're making a payment somewhere. And so I guess all we're trying to say is take a step back, slow down, because the facts that you have in your head that you're using to pressure yourself or to feel a certain way about your lifestyle or where you're at or your spending of money may not actually be true. And so that's a lot of effort for something that may actually not be reality. So
and at the end of the day, we have to define our own goals. Like how we can say this a million different ways.
Yeah.
But when we define our own goals and their goals are based in a place of our own human values, behaviors, and the things that give us joy.
Yeah.
Who cares about the other stuff? Like you have to have convictions. We have a process. that can lead you through a exercise after exercise to help you understand your why, your passion, and define goals and create strategy to achieve them to a point where it's like, you're not getting stressed because of what other people have, because what you need for your own calling in life purpose is laid out, it's outlined, and you're on track to achieve those things.
Yeah.
But without that, you're fishing at best. Like, you're just like, well, I'm purposeless. I'm a wanderer. I see somebody that that appears to have joy over here. I see somebody that appears to have joy over here. He appears to have joy and he's driving a Range Rover.
Yeah.
This person appears to have joy and they're taking vacation. So I must need those two things.
Yeah.
You could have 3 Range Rovers and take endless vacations and still not have joy.
And be miserable.
And doing it at a point that's costing you a future where you could discover something really special for yourself. So I think one thing I just mentioned, since we didn't quote it, if you guys email me if you email me who wrote or who said that comparison is the thief of joy, email me your answer. I got a gift for you. We'll send something to you. So make sure we get that. It's gonna be a real nice treat.
Something real nice. All right, y'all. Sunday series email. We talk about this every week. Brandon sends it out. Go to harpethwealthpartners.com. You'll find both of our emails there. If you email one of us, we'll sign you up for the Sunday series email. It's completely free, designed to be a 2 to 3 minute read, just to get the juices flowing for the next week, get some inspiration going. It's also the precursor to the topic that we talk about on the podcast. So it gives you a couple of days to wrap your head around the topic, get your own ideas flowing. We love to see comments, love to get those conversations started. You can find the podcast on Apple. I always screw this up. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Pretty much everywhere you find podcasts. Yeah. And we'll see you all next week.
Before we end, the reason for Sunday emails, you mentioned juices, getting the juices flowing in.
Yeah.
I was in Afghanistan and I was talking to a general, and we were doing quite a bit of stuff, and it was a very hectic time period. And he said, Brandon, you know why the United States Army has won wars and why they're so prominent in accomplishing what we set out to do. And I was like, well, yeah, money and firepower, right? Like, and he was like, that has something to do with it. He was like, but he was like, a long time ago, back like George Washington time frame, it was always about winning the transition. So he said, if you win the transition, you win the war.
Yeah. And
the more I step back and think about that, like, that's Sundays for me are a transition day.
Yeah.
So, I have my time where I spend with, church. I have time with family. I have time, I play hockey on Sunday afternoons, but I get very intentional about thinking about the week ahead. So we send that on Sunday for you to have, so you can read it in that moment of transition when you have 5 minutes, to really kind of be the catalyst to consider winning the next week. You win in the transition. So have that transition moment, win the transitions, get after it, and we'll see you guys next week.
Adios.
We hope you learned something valuable today. We appreciate you including us in your journey towards financial betterment. It is important to us that you know this is for educational purposes only and not to be considered specific advice for any individual listener. If something we discussed is relevant to you and you have questions about how it might be uniquely applicable to you, please discuss that with a financial professional, or, of course, we are happy to have further conversations with you about your specific questions, needs, or circumstances. We welcome you to reach out to us via our website, harpethwealthpartners.com, or by emailing Brandon at bmc@harpethwealthpartners.com. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice is offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Harpeth Wealth Partners are separate entities from LPL Financial. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not to be intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult appropriate qualified professionals prior to making a decision. Investing includes risk, including fluctuating prices and loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Hypothetical examples presented are not representative of any specific investments. Your results may vary. We want to thank you for your time, and we look forward to having you back next week.